When you think about global safety, Japan often comes up, doesn't it? It's it's kind of an outlier. Consistently ranks among the safest places on Earth.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Tokyo's homicide rate. It's usually something like, what, 12 times lower than New York City?
Right. They have this almost ironclad reputation for security, for social order.
And that's really built on a kind of cultural cohesion, isn't it? One that actively discourages, open conflict.
Yeah, which is exactly why the case we're diving into today feels so jarring.
The Setagaya family murders, it just stands out as this incredibly shocking, brutal anomaly against that backdrop.
It happened on New Year's Eve, December 31st, back in 2000. 4 members of one family, the Miyazawas Mikio, Yasuko, and their 2 young children, Nina and Rei, were killed in their own home.
And it triggered, I believe, the largest investigation in Japanese history. We're talking over 250,000 investigators involved over the years.
A staggering number.
Mm.
And yet here we are 24 years later, and despite this, just mountain of forensic evidence, 16,000 pieces collected.
It's still unsolved.
Still unsolved.
And what's truly fascinating, or maybe frustrating, is that the sheer volume of evidence might actually be the problem here.
How so?
Well, it seems like almost every single clue points in a conflicting direction. It doesn't give you one clear picture of the killer. Instead, you get, 2 completely contradictory profiles.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive. We need to get into this really chaotic evidence trail.
Right. We'll explore those competing ideas. Was it a local young person, maybe, or some kind of foreign intruder?
And then we really have to ask the tough question. Why have Japan's unique legal and cultural systems, the very things that usually guarantee safety, become, sort of ironically, the biggest hurdles in solving this specific horrific crime?
Yeah, and to really understand that complexity, I think we have to start right at the crime scene itself, because this wasn't, a quick robbery gone wrong.
No, it sounds much stranger than that. More like
Yeah.
a prolonged occupation.
Exactly. A bizarre occupation.
Okay, let's unpack this. The bodies were found around 10 a.m. New Year's morning. The grandmother, Haruko, discovered them.
She lived right next door, apparently. Came over because the phone line was dead. Couldn't get through.
And the killer got in how? Through a window.
Yeah, an upstairs bathroom window. It was slightly ajar. Police think they climbed a fence from the park right next to the house.
So they get inside. What happens then?
Well, the initial attack seems quick, but chillingly methodical. The little boy, 6-year-old Rei, was strangled first in his bed.
Oh, terrible.
Then the killer moved downstairs. Mikio, the father, was attacked at the bottom of the stairs, stabbed multiple times.
And investigators found wounds, suggesting he was trying to get back upstairs.
That's right, wounds on his thighs, his buttocks. It looked like he was desperately trying to rush up, maybe to protect the others, but was cut off, intercepted.
And then the violence, it escalated.
Dramatically. Yasuko, the mother, and 8-year-old Nina, she was apparently the last to die. They were both brutally beaten and stabbed.
With the killer's own knife.
Oh, both. First, with a sashimi knife, the killer actually broke during the attack. Then they grabbed another knife, a santoku knife, from the family's own kitchen to continue. The police described the attack on them, especially Nina, as, torment.
Just awful.
Yeah.
But you said the killer lingered. That's the truly bizarre part, isn't it?
It is. It completely shifts the narrative. After the murders, the killer didn't just flee. They stayed for hours, possibly right up until dawn, maybe just before the grandmother arrived.
And what were they doing all that time?
Making themselves unnervingly at home. We know they used the family computer, logged on between about 1:1 and 1:23 a.m.
What did they do on that?
Browsed the desktop, created a new folder, even tried to buy theater tickets online.
While in the house, after committing murder.
Yeah, it speaks to a complete disconnect, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
What else? Well, they treated a wound they'd sustained during the struggle, a pretty significant hand injury, it seems. Used the family's own first aid kit. Bandages, cotton swabs, all left out.
Okay. And the snacks. That part always stood out to me.
The snacks, right. 4 cups of ice cream, ate them right out of the freezer, drank barley tea, but deliberately left things like beer untouched.
It sounds almost infantile.
Childish. That's exactly the word police used, infantile. They even apparently took a nap, or at least rested, on the living room sofa. Investigators found an indentation on a cushion.
So, less like a hardened criminal escaping, more like, I don't know, someone having a deeply disturbed sleepover at a murder scene.
It's a chilling comparison, but it fits the behavior. And then there's the perhaps the most infamous piece of evidence.
The toilet.
The toilet. The killer used the family's toilet and didn't flush properly, left feces behind.
Which they tested, right? Confirmed it wasn't from the family.
Correct. And it just adds another layer of what? Carelessness, panic, or maybe some weird, gross display of dominance? It's hard to say.
But that lack of planning, that strange behavior, the ice cream, not flushing it, that all feeds directly into the first big police theory, doesn't it?
It does. The profile of a domestic, youthful killer, someone local.
And the clothes left behind really seemed to back that up initially.
Totally. An entire outfit was abandoned at the scene. And it had a very distinct style. Police called it a skater style.
What did that include?
A gray Crusher hat, a black Uniqlo AirTech jacket, very common then, but also a very specific sweatshirt, white and purple.
And that sweatshirt was traceable.
Highly traceable. Turns out only 130 were made nationwide. And crucially, only 10, just 10, were sold in the Tokyo area.
Wow. Okay, that narrows things down.
You'd think so. Plus, they found traces of Drakkar Noir cologne on the clothes, apparently quite popular with skaters around that time.
And the killer's build. Any clues there?
Yeah, the hip bag or fanny pack that was also left behind. The belt length suggested a really slim waist, maybe 70, 75 centimeters.
So putting it all together, young guy, slim build, skater style, maybe local, maybe even connected to that argument Mikio reportedly had with some teens near the skate park next door, just days before.
That was exactly the initial working theory. It seemed plausible. A local dispute that escalated horribly.
And this is the crux of the case, isn't it? Just when you think you have a handle on it.
You run headfirst into a completely different set of clues.
Yeah.
The foreign intruder evidence.
Which completely muddies the waters.
Absolutely scrambles the picture. Let's start with the shoes.
Okay, what about them?
Slazenger athletic shoes. Size 27.5 centimeters. Now, multiple sources, including police releases, indicate that specific size and model. Well, it was made in South Korea and allegedly wasn't sold in Japan at that time.
Not sold to Japan. Okay, that's significant.
It is. And then there's the trace evidence. This is where it gets really global.
What did they find?
Soil particles mixed in with dirt on the clothes and shoes. Analysis linked some of it to an area near Seoul, South Korea.
Okay, so that fits with the shoes.
But wait, there's more. They also found sand particles, and analysis traced those back to the Mojave Desert, specifically near Edwards Air Force Base in California.
California, South Korea. How does that fit with a local Tokyo skater kid?
It doesn't at all. Suddenly you're thinking, is this an experienced traveler? Someone in the military, maybe, given the Edwards AFB link? Someone moving between continents? It completely contradicts the Uniqlo and the local argument theory.
So you're left with two possibilities, maybe. Either it was just complete chaos, a killer leaving random contradictory clues without realizing.
Or was it calculated misdirection? Was someone trying to create confusion by planting evidence for two totally different profiles?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because the actions seem to argue against each other. If it was spontaneous rage, like a local dispute gone wrong, that explains the carelessness leaving DNA, the toilet thing.
Right. Pure rage often isn't neat.
But if it was rage, why wear gloves? Why wear a mask? A folded handkerchief was found, possibly used as a makeshift mask. That suggests some planning, some intent to conceal identity.
Exactly. And if it was calculated and planned, why leave so much behind? Why leave the traceable Japanese sweatshirt? Why leave DNA everywhere? It doesn't track cleanly either way.
And didn't some DNA analysis leak early on, adding even more confusion?
Ah, yes. The mitochondrial DNA leak. There were reports suggesting mixed European ancestry on the killer's maternal side.
Which sounds like another point for the foreign theory.
Well, we have to be really careful with that one. Mitochondrial DNA only traces the mother's line. It's a tiny fraction of your total DNA. And back in the early 2000s, trying to pinpoint specific mixed European ancestry from mtDNA was, let's just say, highly speculative.
Yeah.
Very prone to contamination and misinterpretation.
So it wasn't reliable.
It's generally considered unreliable, which is likely why the official Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department has never validated or published that specific finding. It muddied the waters publicly, but might not be a solid lid internally.
Okay, so the police are basically drowning in evidence. Blood, saliva, fingerprints, footprints, soil, sand, clothes.
An absolute avalanche of forensic data.
But every piece seems to contradict the last. It's like the evidence cancels itself out, leaving them with Nothing solid.
Precisely. No clear narrative, no single profile they can zero in on, and that's exactly where the investigation slammed into the wall of Japan's broader legal and cultural landscape.
Right. We talked about how safe Japan generally is.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned it's not just policing, it's cultural. This idea of avoiding, what was the term?
Meiwaku. Causing trouble or being a burden to others. It's a very powerful social force in Japan.
So people tend to avoid conflict.
Generally, yes. The cultural tendency when facing adversity is often described as retreat or silent suffering, rather than striking out violently against others. You see it in the stark statistics, actually.
Which ones?
In Japan, when people face a personal crisis, they are statistically about 40 times more likely to commit suicide than to be murdered by someone else.
40 times. Wow.
Yeah, it highlights how internalized pressure often is, rather than externalized violence.
Which makes a crime like the Setagaya murders this incredibly violent, external, chaotic act where the killer spent hours basically maximizing Meiwaku, leaving filth, destruction, such a profound shock to the system.
It completely violates the unwritten rules of Japanese social conduct. It's an anomaly in almost every sense.
And that inherent rarity of extreme violent crime means the legal system isn't really set up for these kinds of investigations.
In some crucial ways, no, especially when it comes to investigating unknown perpetrators using cutting-edge forensics.
So they have all this DNA from the blood, the saliva, the feces. Why can't they just run it through advanced databases like we hear about in the US or Europe? Find a familial match, use genetic genealogy.
Because Japan has incredibly strict privacy laws, rooted in both constitutional protections and deep cultural concerns about state overreach, especially regarding genetic information. Meaning techniques like familial DNA searching, where you look for partial matches to relatives in a database, are prohibited. Genetic genealogy, using public DNA databases like GED Match or Ancestry DNA, that's also not allowed for police investigations there.
So they can't cast a wide net with the DNA?
Nope. The Japanese public is very wary of creating large-scale genetic databases and the potential for misuse, perhaps targeting certain groups. So the police are restricted. They can only do direct one-for-one matching.
One for one against.
Against their existing criminal database. People already arrested and convicted of serious crimes whose DNA is on file.
So if the Setagaya killer hadn't been arrested for something serious before 2000, or hasn't been since,
then all that rich DNA evidence, the blood, the saliva, is essentially useless for identifying them. It just sits there waiting for a direct match that may never come.
that's quite a paradox, isn't it?
Right.
Some of the best forensic evidence imaginable,
Yeah.
collected meticulously.
Rendered effectively inert by a legal framework designed primarily to protect privacy in a society where such crimes are, thankfully, rare. It makes solving cases involving unknown suspects, especially if they have foreign links or no prior record, exceptionally difficult.
But the case isn't closed, is it? I read the statute of limitations was removed.
That's right. In 2010, Japan abolished the statute of limitations for murder. So the killer can still be prosecuted if they're ever identified. The clock hasn't run out.
And the family. Mikio's mother is still campaigning.
She is Setsuko Miyazawa. She's been campaigning tirelessly for decades now, pushing for legal changes to allow broader use of DNA in investigations like this one. It's a testament to the enduring human cost of this tragedy.
It really highlights how this case exposed a fundamental clash, didn't it? A clash between Japan's usual societal safeguards and the reality of a type of chaotic external violence it's just not accustomed to or legally equipped for.
Exactly. The Setagaya murders remain this stark, shocking contradiction. An act of unbelievable brutality and chaos dropped into one of the safest societies on Earth.
A case where having too much evidence just created too many conflicting stories, ultimately blocked by laws protecting privacy laws that make sense in their own context, but are a barrier here.
And when you circle back to the killer's actions in the house, spending hours there, the mess, the ice cream, the toilet incident, it really paints a picture of someone profoundly disconnected.
Disconnected from what?
From those very cultural pressures we talked about. From the need to avoid meiwaku. Their behavior was the polar opposite of Japanese social norms.
So maybe, and it's just a final thought to leave people with, maybe the reason the killer hasn't been caught isn't just about the legal roadblocks with DNA.
What are you thinking?
Could it be that their actions, their entire psychology was so far outside the Japanese norm, so culturally other, that the usual informal networks, the community awareness, the social controls that help maintain safety there simply couldn't register them? They acted in a way so alien that they became, in effect, invisible to the very society they attacked.
That's a really provocative idea. That their profound disconnection, their utter lack of Meiwaku, might be the deepest reason they remain a ghost in the system. A chilling thought to ponder for Japan's largest and perhaps strangest cold case.